So welcome to my Moon Power Musings. Today we're joined by Kalindi Jordan. So thank you so much, Kalindi, for joining us. I'm so excited for this conversation. I know Kalindi because I was really seeking out a teacher that was teaching Tantra and Taoist practices. And I was at a time of my life where I really felt like that I needed this connection back into myself as well. And I remember finding your website, Kalindi, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. And I haven't done too many sessions with you, have I? But each one that I've done, I've felt like this incredible, like even now as I shut my eyes, it's like peace that goes through my body. And it's that it feels like the piece, like when you connect into your inner core and all of the stories sort of like begin to drop away, and I'm able to like really come back into presence with myself. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit, because that's like my personal experience of how I receive your work.
That's a great way of
So
sharing about me.
it's so much more than that. And so will you just give us a little insight into what you share?
Thank you so much, Chloe, for inviting me to share on this podcast. Gosh, there's so many ways in which I offer my work, and it comes across in so many different ways. It's so very individual. But I'll share a little bit about me, really. So I work with sexual healing, and
Mm.
in a way, everything that kind of comes under that umbrella, really. Sexual healing, relationship, body confidence, whatever's got in the way of pleasure, whatever's got in the way of connection, whatever's got in the way of being, as you said, centered
Mm.
and in a place of witnessing from that inner connection inside ourselves, so that we can actually feel really connected to the multifaceted nature of ourselves, so
Mm.
that we can feel connected to the way that our thoughts are working, the way that our emotions are moving through us, the way that our body is functioning and how it feels. And then when we're connected with our inner world and what's happening within our inner world, we can actually make more fulfilling decisions with our relationship with the outer world, and we can hear what the outer world is bringing to us in this relationship between the inner and outer world.
Mm.
And so in lots of ways, what I do is be a bit like a detective with people around what is it that's come into their nature, around their sexuality, and exploring how does each person meet that, to change that narrative, change that habit, whether it's through the mind, emotions, or body, or and energy systems. And
Mm.
again, it's so multifaceted, that journey. And so I love the journey of sexual healing. It's such
Mm.
a fascinating curiosity, shall we say.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh my God, so I absolutely love working with you. Like I really feel like that my body just receives all of the information that you share, and you have this such a unique way and of it feels like guiding me back home.
Mm.
And it feels very unique because it's also incredibly gentle. It's like my fingertips are sort of like going like this, because it like feels like this, that the like I'm able to connect in with this energy that is always there. But then sometimes when we're too fast or too busy, that energy is difficult to access. And
Yeah.
the space that you hold, it really allows me to like connect into that part, and also exactly what you said, like see what is that thing inside of me that is blocking
Mm.
that energy. And so I mean, so sexual healing and sexual energy and like sacred sexuality at
Yeah.
the moment is, I mean, if okay, it could just be huge because of my Instagram feed and what I've been doing. But I feel like it has definitely like, I don't know if like taken off is the right word, but or just so many people are so interested in it, and so
Mm,
many women are reclaiming their sexual energy and wanting to connect back to this part of themselves. And as you said, you know, it's so multifaceted on so many levels. And um just a side note story, you know, like I've just gone through a breakup, and what I've realized within that breakup is having to reclaim my sexual energy back for me and move
mm,
it out of the relationship again. And even though I had felt like that I was, you know, that my sexual energy was just totally all in my body or all for me, but there's still this other connection with my past partner. And so
mm.
it seems like that there's so many ways to look at sexuality as well, as in like you're in a connection and then who you're connected with too,
Yeah.
and then all of the ideas that we have, societal ideas, and what it's meant to be in our pleasure. And even so much, it's like I was looking on Instagram the other day, and I, you know, sometimes I see the women that are very much like in their full sexual expression, but in some ways it's also just one variant if it's like the wild woman. But then there's also like that
Mhm.
very soft sexual expression which is really just so light and tingly within you. So there's just so many facets of it. I don't really know where I'm going with this conversation. I'm
No,
just
it's
kind of like
beautifully articulated.
I'm just kind of putting it out there. What's your experience with that?
I mean, just something you were saying about the more and more people um, bringing sacred sexuality and stepping into the field of sexuality. I mean, I've been in this field for 15 years. I
Mm,
mean, I've been working with people since I was 17, one-on-one as a body worker. And that's evolved over the years, and the last 15 was sexual healing. Um, and again, when I started, there wasn't so many people. I mean, there were people, but it's definitely grown over those years. And one of my viewpoints when I sort of stand back and look at it is that um, I think we're in a very interesting time where, on so many levels, we're as a human society, we're at a point in time where a lot of what we do isn't really sustainable.
mm,
On a kind of mental emotional level, we see the rise in mental health issues, and on an emotional level and on a physical level, we're seeing a lot more different illnesses and things coming up in society. And then we extend out of our bodies and we look at what's happening to the planet and the waters of the planet and everything. And so we're really witnessing this reflection, really, that we're in a
mm,
time where we're meeting things that are no longer sustainable. And I see the same thing within our sexuality and the way we express ourselves sexually, is
mm,
that in the expression of sexuality, we're meeting what's no longer sustainable. So there's a lot of old archetypes within relationship that aren't really sustainable for staying in a sense of connection. And remember, connection helps us make better decisions.
mhm, mhm,
So I feel that a big part of the reason why sexuality is coming into the forefront of our awareness is because there's an innate knowing inside of our systems that we need connection to this creative power. We need it flowing for it to connect with the resource of our heart and
mhm.
our integrity, to then be able to view the world with a broader, let's say, a more community vision. And I do believe that sexual energy brings that, because it's the rooting, it's the grounding. You've got to remember that sexual energy is an amplifier. It
Yes.
amplifies what we do. You know, it's power.
Yeah.
And of course, it's just like money, it's power. It can be used in any way that
Mhm,
it wants to be used. It can be used to manipulate. It can be used to empower and enlighten.
mhm,
And so that's, I feel like it's coming in as a sacred invitation to
mhm,
rebalance some of the things that in our human society we've created imbalance.
mm,
And the more people, we're all getting pulled into that, consciously or unconsciously. We're saying, actually, these old paradigms, these old archetypes are no longer working for us. We need this energy free flowing. We need it. We need it.
And so,
Yeah.
like, how did you become in touch with your sexual energy? What was your sexual awakening?
So for me, I mean, actually, I've been very, very sexual from a child, and as a teenager, very sensual. I was one of these sort of children that would sort of sit in the trees and listen to the wind and talk to the wind in funny languages, and so I was very sensual as a child, and also very quiet and kind of child that would listen. And as a teenager, I actually had a lot of sexual energy and very sexually curious, very open. I'd ask a lot of people a lot of questions, always fascinating people. But I find people very beautiful, actually, and I find people very fascinating. And I'm really interested in what goes on inside people's inner landscape. So I became a really good listener, actually, quite young, and people really love to talk, and I love to listen, and so there's a good combination there. But I also found as a teenager, I remember feeling quite sad that people didn't feel connected to their beauty, and I remember feeling quite interested about the beliefs that come in and stop us loving our bodies, or and obviously I had the same things as a teenager, and I was fascinated by, why am I not enjoying? I feel great, my breasts feel great, my body feels great, but why am I judging them? What's going on? Why am I judging the way I look when I feel so good? And then when I was in my early 20s, I ended up in a community, an energetic, I guess, an energy movement community, a community of devotion. And my joy was actually sitting on my own and doing a lot of meditation. And I was taught a lot of ways in which to move sexual energy through my own body. So I was taught really that, firstly, the nature that we are our primary lover. So first of all, the connection to our sexual energy is between me and myself, and it's for me. What I feel in my body, I can't actually give to anyone else. It can emanate, there can be a resonance, there can be a spark of invitation, but primarily our energy and our feelings are for us. And to enjoy that and take that into connection with divine. And so I spent a lot of my 20s in a journey of exploration of the movement of pleasure through my body. Yeah, as a healing art, and as an art to come into devotion to the external world, and to feel the consistent hum that lives within everything. And maybe we can call that divine, whatever we want to call that, but the thing that is consistent in and through and underneath and round everything. And for somebody that found, well, still sometimes, I do find human beings a little bit fickle. We change. We love, and then we don't love, and then our minds are very fickle. I love the fact that there is something consistent that we can connect with in the center of everything, that's through and in everything. It means that everything that moves around us in life, actually, we can enjoy the dance, enjoy the play.
Yeah. I love that. I have to say that is a meditation I've been doing a lot at the moment. Coming back in and like really feeling all of the change that is around me all the time, and all of the chaos, and then feeling all of the changing emotions, and then just coming in and feeling that point that is ever unchanging.
Yeah.
And when I connect in with that, I'm like,
yeah, it's a really important resource to be able to connect with in the ever-changing intensity that we're living in. Our inner and outer intensity is to know where the still point is, really, in the center. It's a really valuable resource for people to find, especially at this time, because everything feels like it's speeding up.
definitely. And then, you know, with so many practices, like, they feel so good.
Mm.
For me, even, and I'm sure I'm speaking to this because I'm sure a lot of other people find this as well, there's like the part of you that knows that it feels so good, and when you make time and drop into it, it's like, ah. But then there's that bit, it's like a bridge that's
Mhm.
like, I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah.
Going like, oh no, I'm too busy, or I'm just going to go and have a cup of tea, and it's like, what is that bit that, even though it feels so good, it's like that there's sort of like a little disconnect, or that there's like a bridge that maybe isn't fully formed or something, that
Mm.
puts us into just it not being either priority, or like, oh, maybe I won't do it.
I mean, I feel like the mind has a lot to answer for in these scenarios with all of us, because often the things that feel good and that are good and make everything soften and relax, they're also inviting the mind to be still. They're mostly embodiment.
Yeah.
Whether it's going for a run or a swim or eating good food, it's or meditating or dancing. The things that actually pull us to feel really good take us actually out of our mind. And so my understanding is part of it is that our mind has sort of claimed a lot of our energy, and it's got a bit greedy. And when it starts to think there's some part of us inside going, oh, I'm going to go and just have a dance now, the mind goes, oh no, I don't really want to share my energy with the body. I want to I need it over here because I want to keep thinking, and I want to keep creating in this form, in this way. And so a big part of it is that we're having to consistently remind the mind. I love the mind. We need the mind. It's so amazing what it can create. But it's reminding the mind that that it's part of a system. It's not the master. It's not the king or the queen of the kingdom. It's just a subject, a part of us, just as the body and the emotions. And so a big part of it is our ability to be able to tame our mind and remind it that it needs to become still, and that it doesn't run the show. And so it's a sense of embodied willpower. And to know if the mind's pulling us somewhere else, is to be present enough with the sensations of our body on a regular basis, so that we're listening to the cues, and we give that as much or equal present awareness energy. It will then take it out of the mind so much. So basically in our society, we give too much energy to the mind, and it'll run away with that energy.
Totally, that makes perfect sense as well.
Yeah.
And I think, like, so many of well, I mean, I feel like embodiment practices, like, is quite a buzzword at the moment.
Yes.
Actually, the embodiment practices are so feminine because they drop you into the body. And
Yes.
when I'm actually moved from my mind and into my body, again, there's just a deep sense of actually, it's presence.
Yeah.
I find like
Yeah.
I'm really walking in my feet, and
Yeah.
I'm not walking thinking. And
Yeah.
so I know that you teach a lot of embodiment practices, and I also want to bring the conversation around to sexuality within the cycle as well. So maybe
Absolutely.
let's go into that, and maybe there's different embodiment practices
Yeah,
you would
absolutely.
suggest for the different phases.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, where do you want to go? Do you want to go down the menstruality?
Yeah, let's go down the menstruality connected with our sexual energy. We've done, like, within the other talks, we've done a lot around how the energy moves throughout the cycle,
Yeah.
and but we haven't connected it into sexuality yet. So
Yeah,
about,
great.
like, the inner seasons and how
Yeah.
the energy goes up and down.
So probably in what you've been talking about and what you talk about, and I feel that there's a lot more information about charting and charting the cycle and how powerful that is.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to it many years ago now, and I remember doing it for about a year, and I really enjoyed the process of charting, and I really enjoyed looking back over the flow and seeing the rhythms and the patterns, and to the point where the years after I could still feel that rhythm, and I could always know where I was in my cycle and what was moving. And during that year that I was charting my cycle, I really explored how my sexual energy worked within that cycle. Because again, like you said, we're very multifaceted. And again, we have the different archetypes of our sexuality. We have the wild woman, we have the sort of soft, cuddly, and, we have all the different kind of colors and shapes and flavors of sexuality. And of course, some of us have more leaning into particular qualities than others. So some of us are more shapeshifter style, which have quite diverse range of sexual expressions, and some are more sort of contained within one arena, and so they have different flavors, but they may just be very soft and light and gentle and sort of more cosmic or something like that. So within all those myriad flavors, each individual person has their own leaning, shall we say. And so one of the things that I think is important about being a cyclical being is that our sexual appetite is going to change through that cycle. And of course, it's driven by the way the hormones are moving, and also by our energetic levels, our capacity, what's happening around us. Are we single? Are we in a relationship? How is the relationship going? What's our intention around our sexuality? I think it's really important actually for everyone to ask, why do I have sex? Why do I make love?
That's amazing. I didn't even think about your intention behind it. Beautiful.
Because when I was in my teens to when I was in my 20s to when I was in my 30s, my part of the motivation, it changes. And it's like, of course, underlying that, a big part of it is that we all want to experience pleasure. We all want to experience joy and connection and all of those things. But also, there's certain ages where we're maybe ready to have children, and we're part of the coming together and making love with our partner is because we want to make family. And so there's times where we're like, actually, I want to have sex because I want to be creative and I want to try loads of diverse ways of meeting sexuality. And so there's for some people, they get to a phase where they're like, actually, I really want to take it into the sacred. I want to have really cosmic experiences through sexuality. For some people, they're like, I just want pure hedonism. I just want pure, like, wild out there hedonism, So it's good to check in again as our cyclical nature on a broader sense. What age am I, and what am I looking ahead? What's in front of me? And so therefore, what am I wanting from relationship, and what am I wanting from the sexual relationship? And so it's a really good thing to contemplate, because often people don't stop to contemplate.
I have to say, like, I have contemplated it, because I feel like that I've definitely wanted more of the sacred sexuality connection. Like, I think it was when oh my goodness, I vividly remember, it must have been like 2015 or 16, and I remember making a commitment to myself that I was going to honor my womb, and that I was going to honor my yoni, and that this was a sacred space within me, and that I would only allow those to enter me that I had
Yeah.
given permission. And I
Yeah.
really remember like making that commitment to myself.
Yeah.
The type of you know, side note, I did make some bad choices still. but I remember like realizing that my sexual energy was sacred and
Yeah.
wanting to experience it in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, so again, it's like, where are we?
Mm.
It's like, of course, when we come into our teenage years, it's sort of like, part of it is like, well, everybody's talking about it, it's out there. I'm curious. I'm just purely curious about what it is. What is it? What am I meant to be doing? And then through the learnings of experience about what we want, and like you say, we have experiences that aren't always enjoyable or really take us into connection, and then we learn from those.
Yeah, exactly.
And we learn, oh, actually, I don't want that. What do I want?
Yeah,
And
totally.
so a key piece around sexuality and the cycle and charting the cycle, because a lot of people chart and they say on day one, the first day of our bleed, we chart, a lot of people chart around what are their emotions, what's their body, what's their body doing, is it bloating, is there anything going on a physical level, what sort of emotions are happening, what kind of dreams are unfolding. And for those who are already doing this, it's like, I invite you to add, if you were to make love today, what would you want from making love? And so one of the things that I've done is, so for example, on day one of the bleed, it was, whether I was in a partnership or not, it's still a really valid question. If I was to make love with somebody today, what would I want? And for me, I would I would drop down, breathe and feel into my root, into my yoni, my vagina, my womb, my pelvis. And it's like opening up a dialogue. If I was wanting someone to engage with me sexually, how would I want them to touch me? And so maybe on day one, it might be, because if I was bleeding, it might just be, actually, I'd probably just want a cuddle.
Yeah.
It would be more sensuality that I'd be yearning for. And then there'd be some days that I'd feel like, actually, wouldn't want to be touched today. I actually wouldn't want anything sexual. I wouldn't even want a cuddle. I actually just want a cocoon I would want to come into my primary intimacy with myself, which is just soothing. And then there may be days where it would be, actually, again, I don't particularly feel like I want someone else to touch me, but I would love to touch myself. I'd feel like I'd want to touch myself. And maybe it would be to just chase an orgasm, or maybe it would just be that I would just want to just be very sensual and rub my belly and stroke my thighs and something really soft and sensual. And then, and then also it may be that in phases of our cycle, we might feel like we'd be more giving. Oh, actually, I really feel like doing this to my partner, and I'd love to do, this sexual act, or I actually feel quite giving and in service to somebody else's pleasure. If I was to make love with someone today, I'd love to be in service to their pleasure. Some days I might have felt like we might feel, actually, I just want to receive. I just want to surrender. And then, of course, we go into the different wilder sort of expressions of sexuality. And obviously, as we come up to ovulation, one may feel that there's more sort of extroverted, provocative ways in which we would express our sexual nature, because our bodies, craving that fertility, craving that union. So therefore, we might, as women, step into that more sort of seductive nature, and we'll all have different ways of doing that. And so and interestingly, what I found when I work with couples is that the partners of women often understand their partner's sexual patterns more than the women themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones witnessing, and they're the ones on the receiving end of their sexual requirements. And so sometimes it's quite interesting to actually ask what your partner has observed about you, because they're like, oh yeah, you're like, you do this. So when I'm with couples, I've often find that they can actually, it's almost like they've got a manual on you, especially if you're in a longer term relationship.
Yeah.
But it's important to have a manual of ourselves, you know. And so I think there's some value in, and for some people, when they do that, they draw pictures, they write it in colors, they describe it. And another way that actually I also love, and what I also have done, I think I just did it for one cycle from bleed to bleed, was that I actually sat in front of the mirror and I characterized that sexual impulse. So I could witness, so I could fully, it's almost like I really allowed her to step into myself. And so in front of the mirror, like if it was just cuddly, I would just watch myself stroking myself, cuddling, soothing, just so I could really witness what is my partner going to be experiencing, and can I really embody it? Can I really claim it? As you were saying at the beginning, we're in a time where we're claiming the energy of our sexuality. We're claiming it. We're awakening it. And I feel like there's still some way to go for most of us, is to really fully embrace the multifaceted qualities of sexual expression. And so this is such a beautiful way of doing it. And so then again, some days it's like, just wild abandon, legs akimbo, really watching yourself get into a deep expression of eros. Maybe there's underwear, maybe there's toys, but in witness of yourself, so that we can really honor and say, yes, this is me. This is in me, and this is an expression of my energy moving, and I'm enjoying this, and I'm honoring her in this ritual of witnessing. That of course our partners witness because they see us in those flavors, but can we see ourselves? Can we honor ourselves? Can we desire ourselves? Because often we have many stories about not being enough, and not being, all sorts of stories that sabotage us from the subconscious. And actually there's something really important about desiring ourselves, desiring our life, desiring ourselves, having a yes for who we are and for how we express ourselves. And in that witness, we can also refine how we want to be in that. If there is something we want to grow into, if there is some part of us that we know is an expression of ourselves sexually, but we haven't quite had the arena to express it, there's something really beautiful about, again, it's quite teenage-like, where we dance around our bedroom, kissing our forearms, all sorts of things that we did. But there's still something in it as adults that we continue to keep opening to more of ourselves. And so this mirror work is really, really powerful, actually.
I just absolutely love everything that you've shared there, because within the whole cycle, if we choose, we can go through all aspects of our sexuality.
Yes. Yes.
The whole, and I think so much of coming back to the feminine and coming into connecting with your feminine is knowing the different facets.
Yeah.
We look at the goddess, we'll go all the way from the soft, gentle, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, and all the way to the Durga and Kali and chopping heads off. And within the cycle, and connecting to our sexual energy, we actually, if we choose to and connect in, we could have that whole multifacet
Yeah,
throughout
absolutely.
the month. And that is so powerful, because it's and then letting it come forward in an embodied way. It's no longer like this thought in your mind, or oh, I need to access this point of me and I need to think about accessing this.
Yeah.
It's like, what is coming forward today?
Yeah.
Allowing her to come forward and give spaciousness to that part of you. I mean, it's so beautiful. Oh my God, I love the way this
Yes.
conversation we're going to do. I can't wait.
And it's so beautiful because within that, you know, we all actually have varieties of, let's say, trauma, like big T, little t, varieties of overlay that create pleasure limits within us. You know, our patterns, our habits, you know, the nature nurture that we had from being born, the effect of our caregivers, our parents, when we were children, how that's affected us, how that's affected our expression and our capacity to stay connected. So the way that our survival patterns come in, the way that we disconnect, disassociate, all of those different things. So also part of this mirror work journey is the capacity to feel in and go, even if it's like almost like a homeopathic dose of a certain feeling in the body. It's like, oh, actually, I reckon I feel like I'd really like to express it like this. Oh, but I really can't because there's all this restriction because of the way that we've been formed, the habits and the experiences that we've had about our body, potentially the way that people have stepped over our consenting boundaries from childhood, teenagehood, adulthood, the different varieties. So around sexual healing, there's these just feeling it. So these habits and nervous system habits, and a lot of them are actually hard to logically understand because they're just in the nervous system, they're in the subconscious. And so what this mirror work also gives us the opportunity is, as we're sort of maybe trying to allow a part of that sexual expression to come forth through our body, we're going to slowly be meeting what's on top and what's restricting that to flow. It's almost like the lotus flower we talk about, you know, it's like the lotus flower rising up and blossoming in the heart. It's like as that energy, the sexual energy, rises through the body, it meets these restrictions, whether they're psychological, emotional, physical, energetic. They're echoes. It's the armoring that life has brought to us. And so we start to feel and touch in on those as we're in that journey. And that's when we start to attend, just like a garden, we need to then attend. So we're trying to let that blossom, that form of sexuality blossom. And then we hit a pleasure limit. We hit something that's needing us to care and attend and to hold. And so again, this journey can actually be quite full of grief, and it can be full of tears, and it can be full of anger, and it can be full of disgust, and the mind can also come in with its judgment. But that's the work. That's the attending. That's if a thought's coming in, it's like, wow, I would never say that to someone else. You know, I would never say that sentence to someone else. And then it's like, hey, finding those maturer parts of ourselves that actually challenge that thought and say, hey, look, we need to like look at this. We need to look at how you're speaking to me, how we're speaking to ourselves, you know, and like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What's this come from? Whose words are these? Are they really yours? And is this really helping us? You know, and so we start to build. And so again, it has many layers to this practice. And sometimes we may cry and have no understanding why, and witnessing ourselves crying. And what would we do if we witness a dear friend crying? We just hold them. We don't try and fix it. We just love it. We be there. We be present. You know, if there's rage, it's like, maybe we need to watch ourselves rage. Maybe we need to voice the rage. Maybe we need to stand up for ourselves. Maybe we need to see ourselves saying, I'm here for you. And the rage is like those moments where we couldn't quite stand up for ourselves in those moments. And now we need to see that we could. And so we're growing those passions. And so, again, there's many layers to this practice.
So deep, and it's so rich. So much can unfold.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
amazing.
yeah.
It's like multifaceted. Again, this is, I think, the beauty of like sexual healing and sexual awakening and feminine embodiment practice. It's just so multifaceted. You have the opportunity. And through the cycle, again, we have the opportunity to connect in with these places. And we're obviously been just talking about the cycle, but as a menopausal woman, how would you connect in with your sexual energy, or perimenopausal? What's the
so I'm in my perimenopausal phase, and I mean, I think I'm very lucky because I've worked with women around the menopause for quite a few years, and even though it hasn't been a personal experience, you know, as a coach, I'm witnessing and helping people find their own weave through. And actually, one thing that I've noticed, I mean, for myself, I think I've always leaned into the sort of more cosmic realms of sexuality. I think that's just my natural leaning, is that my sexual energy tends to want to awaken sort of visioning and deep sensations in the body, and I think that's part of my nature. But what I've noticed with the perimenopause phase, the menopausal phase, is that often women start to feel like a yearning, actually, for something that has a reaching of depth deeper into their system. There's a kind of pull. Because I think when the physical the hormones start to change, and that physical impulse of why we have sex starts to wane, it's almost like taking a filter. It takes a layer away. And for some people at first, if that's their primary impetus for sexual engagement, it can be a real shock, because they're like, oh God, I just don't feel like it. Because they've been so focused on that's the why, that following that cyclical impulse. But actually, when that physical impulse to urge, as it were, that ovulatory urge starts to drop away, it can really reveal, if a woman's willing to listen, it starts to reveal that there's a deeper pull. Like it's almost like a leaning backwards, a pulling inwards. This like something deeper wants to be revealed. I feel it's always there at every age. And if somebody wants to find it at any age, it's there. It's just easier to witness and feel because of it. We're not being pulled outwards to this hormonal urge, shall we say. And I think what's also fascinating is when I'm working with women around this phase, is that some of the challenges that women feel is their partner wanting to come to that same place. And if they've got a male partner, it's like sometimes men around the age of sort of 50, 55, that kind of sit around the same age as a menopausal woman, if you're in a relationship, is like they're also going through a phase of an initiation, a change. That's phase of reflection of, what have I done with my life? Where am I going? What do I, that weeding out of what do I do next? Very much so. And there can also be a holding on to that youthful, virile nature. And so there's almost a dialogue, a conversation, a depth of understanding that the woman's body is going to be, let's go fall inwards, let's go deeper. And in a way, this is where Tantra really starts to amplify, or its ability to perceive it. And again, so that often I see this sort of wobble at this phase, because the woman's body's naturally sort of wanting to go into that. And it's an invitation for male partners to sometimes let go of so much of the doing in sexuality and start to become a lot more being in it. And of course, that's a whole other subject. But and definitely for me personally, what's happening for me personally? I guess I'm just feeling a even deeper pull, which is actually quite profound for me right now. Like, and I'm not, I'm 47, so I'm just at the beginning. So I'm quite intrigued in where it's going to take me at this time, because I'm definitely experiencing even more pulling into this sort of, it's almost like falling into an ocean and swimming around. That's where it wants me to go. So I'll let you know. We'll chat again in a few years. And
oh, I love it. There was something that I spoke to in our last talk, which was around a personal experience that I have, where I feel that my yoni and my womb actually are different energies. So sexually, I might be like, wow, I really want to have sex, or I really feel my sexual energy rising, and I feel that it's my yoni just saying like yes, but then my womb might actually say no. She might kind of close up, and it's like such a fascinating dance. And I feel like all of the energy centers, like the head might say yes, or the head might say no, the heart might say yes, and the heart might say no. And to begin with, I thought, oh well, my yoni and my womb are going to say the same, but they actually don't, for me personally. And so when we're in touch with our bodies in this way, and then navigating this like yes no, like open close, like how does one, I guess, respect all of it? You know what I'm saying? Because it's
absolutely. And I think it's really important to say that opening and closing, they're all part of the same system, and they're really important parts of the system. It's like a flower. As it cut, at night they often close at night, as a protection from the cold, and then as the dawn, they start to unfurl and open, and there's different movements, so everything has a sense of opening and closing, and so it's like giving and receiving. They're parts of the same cycle, and so they are both as valid as an important. And again, often we can have an overemphasis of being open and a yes, but actually a closing is just as valid as an opening. So, and there'll be reasons why our system is in that process, and like you say, different parts of our system will be in different experiences. I mean, and it's also as a reflection, it's inside our mind, when we're making a decision, we have different characters, different psychological parts inside us that all are saying something different. And so sometimes for many of us, decision making is quite complicated. So, this is a big subject, and it's like there's, it goes on all the different parts of ourselves, for sure. I think one of the things in response to what you're saying is that, for example, let's come into, like the opening feeling in the yoni, in the vulva, in the labia, and that sense of the gateways, like the clitoral gateway, the vaginal opening gateway, and then the G-spot and the vaginal canal, and then we've got the cervix, as energetic portals, shall we say, as energetic openings. There'd be different reasons why, again, cyclically, they may be at a certain phase where they're flush with energy and they feel like they want to open. So from a very physical level. There may be traumas that have been activated or memories that are coming up because something familiar or something similar is happening in our everyday life. And so again, with the womb, it's like the womb has its physical layers. And again, depending on whether it's weighed down with a thick womb lining of blood, and where is it? How much does it want to contract? How much does it want to move? So on a physical level, the sense of it opening and feeling expansive or heavy is going to be affected by this cyclical nature of where we are. But then also on an energetic level, it's like, I always feel the energy of the womb has a variety of chambers, just like the heart. The heart, I feel, has many chambers within it. And some chambers are open and some closed. So we often talk about the heart being open, but actually it won't, not all of it's like there's many chambers within these facets. Like the mind is like a mind palace of chambers. And I think coming to terms with that reality is an important part of that. So it's like, this is just the way we work. I don't know, you know, maybe there is a phase that we go through where everything's open all at once. Maybe that's enlightenment.
Oh, he froze.
You're there. I think you caught that. So it's almost like, for example, a question, and it's like a question without words. So for example, your body saying yes to something, and you're allowing someone to enter you, you're allowing your beloved in, but then you're noticing that the deeper chambers just are not opening. You know, and of course sometimes it may be that the energy of our partner isn't where the energy of our womb wants to open to in that moment. It doesn't mean a full no to them or a no to it. Just might mean that where they are inside themselves isn't necessarily conducive to the willingness of your deeper chambers to want to open and meet the other. And that's not right or wrong or bad or good. It's just part of how it is. You know, and then sometimes it will open, and we won't often know what is that alchemical resonance. You know, it's a bit of a mystery sometimes. But I do feel that we can be curious and listening and notice, and even sometimes say to our partners, what's happening inside you? You know, and they might be like, oh, I'm a little bit distracted, or I'm not feeling really rooted in myself, or I've got this coming up, or I'm feeling this or that. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense why maybe I'm not quite opening in that area.
So beautiful, isn't it?
It's so beautiful.
Like the body is just always feeding back information. And I love what you shared, because it's like, if I just take my own personal experience, you know, with my past partner, there was so much attraction, there was so much love, there was so much chemistry, and my yoni was just like, yes. But we were also trying for a baby, and it wasn't aligned for us. And so that is why the womb would have been like, no. But the rest of me was like, yes, I'm wanting to experience. And it's so beautiful, like the body within me. And even though my mind was saying, yes, this is what I want, and like, yes, pushing it for it to happen, but the womb was like, no. Didn't love, and that we weren't deeply in love with each other, the chemistry wasn't there, and the sexuality wasn't there, because it totally was. On a deeper level, my body was telling me another truth, you know. And if we listen to our bodies, and like, I love what you said, just like asking a question as well. Because at the time for me, I was like, oh, well, like womb says no, so, and I'm so like, well, no, she says no, and she's the ruler of the camp. But actually it's more nuanced than that, and
it's more nuanced.
I
you know,
love it.
because we're in different moments and different times and timing, and there's many layers, like, and as you've been experiencing, it's like there's physical things that we might need to attend to, emotional things, mental things, you know, it's like you know, and there we have to also acknowledge that there is a sense of a place of mystery, especially around conception, you know, and that there, you know, and then it's, you know, and for many people, see, yes, sometimes they try and then they part, and then it happens with some, you know, and not long after or something like that. And what is that mystery? And on some level, we may never know what that mystery of that is. And you know, and those questions of readiness and consciousness and thoughts, and what are in the deep subconscious that are making those things happen and not happen. What are the physical chemicals that are buzzing around the body that are making it happen or not happen? It's there is something about surrendering to that feminine mystery while listening, while attending, while doing all the things that we nowadays have rich information around. So yeah, just sending you love for that part of your journey, this part of your journey.
Yeah, it's been very, very, very deep and rich and insightful, and
yes,
and also a lot of grief as well.
Of
You know,
course.
when it was like the summer of love, and I was like all ready for the summer of love, and no, I've actually been in the summer of grief.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's just been so much heart tending, and I also love what you said with the opening and closing, because I noticed, like, when I go to bed, you know, I'm so much, most nights, like really tending to my heart, and like, oh, like feeling that openness, and then okay, like allowing myself to fall asleep in that, in my own loving heart connection. And then I wake up in the morning and and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. And then instead of being like, oh, my heart doesn't feel as open as last night, it's like, okay, she's just been asleep, and like she needs time to come back again, and time to gently open again if she wants to. And so there's been actually a very beautiful journey of coming back to myself again.
And these parts of us, they need to we need to learn what is it that they need from us to trust life around, because life is quite complex, and we can't fool ourselves that pain isn't going to happen, whether it's mental, emotional, physical pain. The potential of it is always there, so we can't lie to our system, but we can build trust with in ourselves around that. If pain comes in whatever form, I'm here for you, and this is how I'll be here for you, and that's what I can offer. So you can trust me to try and be here in the best possible way I can be here for you.
That's so beautiful. And that's almost something that I have been saying to myself. I can't remember the exact words, but I've just been saying, I'm here for you, I'm here to feel this, and I'm here to heal this, and just
Because healing
because
healing, so we're a little delay. Because healing is to come into positive relationship. You know, we can't heal the human experience. You know, it's an experience, but we can heal. Healing just means to come into positive dialogue, positive relationship, listening, meeting. And if the information bears fruit and there's something we can change, there's something we can do differently, then we use that information to change what we're doing. And then the pain will change and move. But it starts from a positive relationship of listening.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we've been talking already for an hour. I can't believe
there's always so much to say.
There's so much, and there's so many avenues. I mean, I feel like we need to do a whole nother conversation as well.
Absolutely, let's do it.
So for those that are listening, and obviously we've been talking about like how to connect in with your sexual energy through the cycle, and I'd love for you to share a practice that is a way that you can cultivate your own sexual energy for yourself. And we haven't even really spoken about that properly, but is there a practice that you particularly love and that you've shared with lots of other women, that is one that allows us really to connect in with that energy? And then how would you suggest harnessing your sexual energy for yourself?
Great. So just a reminder a bit about the mirror journey. That's definitely a beautiful practice. So just inviting people to remember to explore that. I mean, there's so many different energy practices, but the one that I felt to share today is a Taoist practice, and it's ovarian breathing. And I just want to acknowledge that I think lots of different people teach it in slightly different ways and maybe have adapted it or different things. So if it's not exactly how other people have heard about it, this is just the way that I've come into relationship with ovarian breathing. And I think there's bigger versions of it. But one of the things that I found with a lot of women is that they're one of the primary things that we need to be doing is being present with our sexual energy, and being present with our pelvis, being present with our womb. And I'm sure you find this in your work that you do. It's like, it's the key thing with most things, is that we can be too much in our head and not with our body, as we said, embodiment. And so a big part of ovarian breathing is this sense of bringing where our awareness goes, our energy flows sort of scenario. And so I'm just going to share a very maybe simple version, in a way, of ovarian breathing. And the reason why I find ovarian breathing really helpful is because what it does is it brings our awareness, but it also helps. There's a lot of energy that is created to create the our eggs, basically, in our ovaries have a lot of energy. They have creative energy in it. And then when they're released, they release a lot of energy into our body. And of course, they then are released through our bleed if we're not having a baby. And actually, we can harness that energy, and we can use that energy to heal. So sexual energy is very healing. And so a big part of what the Taoists have created practices to use the vital energy of sexuality to stay healthy and vital into old age. And so rather than losing the energy through the bleed of that, the potency of the egg, they draw it in and through the body. And so that's kind of what it's doing. So this practice isn't, if you're trying to become pregnant or you are pregnant, this practice isn't suitable for you, for the people listening. So, and one of the other things is that I work a lot with fibroids and cysts and polycystic ovaries and many different things. And often part of that on a very energetic level is there's a stagnancy that we can get around the ovaries that then I think creates these physical symptoms. It's part of it from looking at it from an energy point of view. So working with the ovaries can help. It's like having a massage in a way. It's like it helps maintain healthy connection. So we'll just go into it, yeah. And so I think I'm just going to describe it. So you can do the standing. I actually prefer doing it standing, but you can also do it sitting. And so what you're doing is you're putting your hands into a triangle shape. So your little fingers are going to be in the crease of your groin. So where your legs connect with your belly, you're going to place your little fingers into the groin. And then your thumbs are going to touch. So they're the top of a triangle shape. And your fingers are going to rest upon the pubic mound. And so you've got this, you should have this lovely triangle, and the palms of your hands are resting on your body. And so your fingers are making a triangle shape. And so they're making this shape for those who are watching the video. And so the palms of your hands are roughly, basically, over the area of the ovaries, around that area. And so just closing the eyes and bringing the breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And allowing your out breath to have a very slight sound on the out breath. So it's just sort of just a husky breath. So you can hear the sound of your breath coming out of your body. And as you do this, I want you to allow the movement of breath to come down into your hips. So of course our actual breath can only fill our lungs, but actually the movement of our breath can continue down into our belly, down into our hips. So when you breathe in, I want you to feel your hips move. I want you to feel the base of your spine move, your sit bones, your anus, your sex, your genitals. And your pelvic floor will move. So as you breathe in, the whole, and you can feel your hands move on your body. And as you breathe out, everything softens. So breathing in, it's like expanding, like there's a balloon in your pelvis, and softening. So this starts to bring awareness, this starts to build our chi, our energy. And start to become aware of the palms of your hands over your lower belly, over the area of your womb. So this triangle shapes over the womb, and your palms are over your ovaries. And you start to focus in underneath the palms of your hands. So you're leaning now into your body. And again, for some of us, there can be a numbness. It can be hard to tune in. It can be hard to keep the mind focused. And if your mind comes unfocused, just come back to the breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, the movement of the breath, the warmth of your hands upon your body. And having a sense, and for some of you, it may be really helpful to actually look at an image of where your ovaries are located, how they're in position, what it looks like. So actually having a visual of your anatomy can be really helpful. But focusing under the palms of your hands and having this sense that as you're breathing in, it's like there's two qualities of either side under your palms of your hands. There's a golden glow, like a golden sun or a sphere. For some of you, may be visual. For some of you, your more felt sense. And so under your palms of your hands, in your ovaries, there's a warm glow, a warm colour. Whatever that is for you, that brings warmth and nurture. And as you breathe in, it expands. And as you breathe out, it softens. As you breathe in, it expands. And as you breathe out, it softens. And then very slowly, you're going to circle the palms of your hands over the ovaries. And so it's almost like you come up the midline of your body, the center of your body, and outwards. So for those of you watching, you're going to be moving in this direction, so up the midline, outwards. So you're creating circles over the ovaries. And in a way, you're still staying in touch with the breath, the warmth, the glow, the warmth of your hands. And it's almost like as if you could stroke them, stroking the energy, spiraling the energy, weaving the energy. Almost like this golden threads just circling round and through, and this beautiful warm glow is pulsing and growing. And behind the ovaries, above, below, and through. And just circling, stroking. And the way you're filling it with your presence, your awareness, your love, your gratitude for all this potency, all this creative life force. And just bringing your hands to stillness and just breathing deeply in. And just noticing what's moved or changed after just circling and spiraling the palms. And the progression from this can be you circle up the belly and you come round to your kidneys. And you come round to the back of your body and just circle, so you're coming up the spine and coming out to your waistline. And so you're connecting your kidneys. We can hold a lot of fear and shock in our kidneys. And so we're just allowing a little bit of this creative energy just to come up to the kidneys. And then you might sweep over your hips, down to your ovaries, and circling, spiraling, and breathing into. And just do a few moments, just move from your ovaries to your kidney. Circling. Feeling in the body, this warm golden glow, expanding and weaving through. And just coming down into resting your palms over your ovaries again in stillness. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feeling under the palms of both of your hands. A sense of expanding, a sense of softening as you breathe out. Breathing in rhythm, allowing the pulse. And of course, part of this journey, you can bring the energy up to your breast. You can bring the energy up to your heart, to your mind. But for now, we're just going to just notice what's moved, what's changed, how do you feel now? Just in this short exploration. And of course, you can do this for as long as you need. And then taking a slightly deeper breath in, slightly deeper breath out. And when you're ready, just coming into opening the eyes. So just hoping that there's a little taste of where ovarian breathing can take you. And there's many ways in which once that energy is really, you're connected to it, you can help it support the liver, the spleen, the digestive system, the stomach. Like you're drawing that energy through parts of your body, but first of all, we need to connect with it and allow it to grow and fill and soothe the ovaries and then the womb first. So it's a practice that evolves, but the first nourishment is really building their sense of awareness and presence. So hopefully that's been supportive for many of you out there.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
I feel very relaxed now.
Yeah, me too.
Like really, and my womb and my ovary energy feels like far out of my body. I had to do the practice, like moving my hands away, so I was just energetically touching even.
Yes, yeah, gathering it in. Yes, and so there's many variants, there's many different things that people experience. Like you say, actually they don't find that their energy actually isn't in the physicality, so you're gathering it in. And so again, there's nuances to it. Sometimes it's cold, ice cold for some people, and they just have to work with the ice cold first to build in a sense of warmth. The tears, again, many layers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kalindi.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Chloe.
Oh, no, I'm absolutely honoured. So thank you. And thank you for everyone that has been listening, that's been joining us. Yeah, I really just love each of these conversations. There's so much richness, and each conversation I come away with a sense of, oh my God, we as women, as womb bearers, are just incredible beings, and there's so much that we can learn about ourselves. So thank you so much, Kalindi, for all that you share.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you so much for all you share and all these beautiful conversations that you're sharing with the world also. So thank you.
And then do you have, so if somebody wanted to work with you, what's the best way of being in touch?
Yes, the best way is to come to my website, which is just my name, kalindijordan.com. And I run one-to-one sessions online and in person. And I run online courses for couples around Tantra for couples. And I run my signature program, which is called the Sensual Mastery for Women, which is building sexual confidence and working with sexual energy. So we attend to everything that the different arenas that need to be attending around women's sexuality. And the next one, I do them twice a year. So yes, they're all on my website. And I would love people to come and just contact me and just ask if I'm a fit. I give free consultation. And so you can just bring whatever's moving for you, and I can see if I can help you in any way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I will put the website in with all of the notes so everyone can find you. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.